against the bill from the start, Chip Roy, and against it due to the trillions it's predicted to add to the massive public debt. Congressman, you just got out of there. As the bill stands right now, are you a yes or a no?
Yeah, well, we're still going through it. Obviously, I voted no on the rule last night. I continue to be a no on the rule until we understand more about what the president has in mind in terms of the implementation of the legislation. And frankly, we're kind of peeling it back to understand the nature of what they stuck in at the 11th hour over in the Senate side and what it actually means with respect to repealing the Green New Scam subsidies. We were very frustrated that the Senate put in an 11th hour poison pill. So we're trying to understand what that means in implementation. And then looking at the overall cost, as you pointed out, we've got very big concerns about that. But there was a provision put in the bill on the Senate side that would create a framework for identifying additional spending reductions. That is something that we're trying to work through to understand whether there's a path forward. But we have very strong concerns because we had all agreed to a framework in the House that there would be a dollar for dollar on the spending cuts and the tax cuts, and then we needed deficits to be going down. So right now we're trying to understand the math of the bill from the White House's perspective, while we also go through the conversation on the Green New Scam subsidies. There's Medicaid issues, there's issues involving transgender surgeries, other things that we were frustrated with what came out of the Senate that we're trying to understand what the next path will be going forward from the perspective of the White House. We're not there yet, and so we got to keep having conversations.
Congressman, we are told that one of the no votes just voted yes. Brad, can you tell me who? Can we find out? We don't know yet, but this now goes, Republicans now have enough votes for the second of the 3 votes to pass to move this to a full House vote.
Yeah, well, the vote on the floor right now is a procedural vote to fix
Correct.
a glitch that was a procedural mess up, basically. So there's nothing going on down there. Right now, we're just having conversations about the actual substance of the actual rule.
The CBO has projected it'll add $3.3 trillion to the debt over 10 years. Do you actually think it'll be bigger than that, even though President Trump, Speaker Johnson, and just yesterday on the show, National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett said growth from the bill will eventually blank out much of what the CBO says would be that $3.3 trillion?
Yeah, well, we've been very public from the beginning that we disagreed that the number of $3 or $3.5 trillion, we don't think that's the right number.
What is?
Because we applied a assumed economic growth element in our budget committee product of about $2.5 trillion. So our delta is about $1 trillion. We think there's about $600 billion plus interest, so $1 trillion or a little bit more, that we have concerns with, that we thought they were supposed to get down to revenue neutrality. That didn't happen, meaning that $1 trillion should have been zero. So we're trying to work through those issues, which frustrated us, because in the House product we sent over to the Senate, it was basically break even. It was $0. So we're going to keep trying to understand what we think the White House's implementation will be. We know they've got a belief that they're going to get more revenue in from growth. But we assume 2.6% economic growth, which is higher than the CBO's projection, but lower than the historic average. So we think there's more that needs to be done. We think they should have been better in the Senate. We think they should have pushed harder on the spending restraint. And we certainly still have significant concerns about the Green New Scam subsidies that they stuck the poison pill in at the 11th hour.
How many of your Freedom Caucus are still no's right now?
Yeah, I'm not going to give you a whip via the news media, but I'll just tell you that there are still significant reservations and concerns. We've had some good conversations with the White House. We're going to continue to have good conversations. We've all said from the beginning that we want to deliver, but we can't continue to deliver deficits. We can't continue to deliver policies that will undermine economic growth. So we're going to keep at it. At every part of this process, we've been trying to achieve something at every turn. We got a framework in place that delivered Medicaid savings. We got a framework in place that delivered restrictions on the Green New Scam subsidies. We got frameworks in place that achieved welfare reform, that dealt with and fixed food stamps and SNAP. We've made a lot of really good progress, but we think it fell short in what came out of the Senate. So now the question is how do we fix what the Senate messed up? Do we do it by sending it back to the Senate, or do we do it by trying to fix things through executive action and future legislation? That's what we need to understand.
The Freedom Caucus, members of them met with President Trump this morning. Were you there? And if not, were you hearing, was it more arm twisting than convincing?
I don't talk about private meetings generally. I will say that we have continued conversation with the White House. We've had conversations with the president. There's no real arm twisting going on. There's just a back and forth about what's possible in terms of the next steps legislatively and through executive action versus what we can do if we were to send something back to the Senate. Again, we're not happy with what the Senate sent us. And so now what is the next step? Those are the conversations that are being had, and they're good conversations, and we'll see where they go.
Okay, so as I'm choking here because so much is going on.
It's all good. I'll filibuster if you want.
I like that. Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska was the deciding vote. She was a holdout. Can we play the sound from her?
Senator Paul said that your vote was a bailout for Alaska at the expense of the rest of the country. That's what Senator Paul said.
I assume it was easy.
Senator, we've got the...
I didn't say it, ma'am. I'm just asking for your response.
Do I like this bill? No, because I tried to take care of Alaska's interests. But I know that in many parts of the country, there are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill.
10 seconds, Congressman. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I couldn't really hear what the senator was saying, but look, the senator got a whole lot of benefits for her state to buy her vote. I think we need to make sure we're advancing policies that are good for all Americans. That means reforming Medicaid, cutting spending, getting interest down, making sure that we secure the border and do the things we need to do to end the Green New Scam subsidies. We're going to keep fighting for those things. We need to improve the Senate product one way or the other.
Congressman, thank you so much for joining us.